Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Hipster Google, tools you probably never heard of. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or who are watching the recording in the future. My name is Eric Curts, and I'll be your presenter today. I am a technology integration specialist here at SPARC. I also run the website controlaltachieve.com. Please visit that when you get a chance. I actually will have a blog post there shortly after this video webinar today with some additional resources for this webinar. If you're a Twitter user, you can connect with me on Twitter at Eric Curts. All of the resources for this session today can be found at tiny.cc/spark244. Now, if you're watching the live video, you're already there. You're on the page where all those are at. But if you're watching this recorded in the future, tiny.cc/spark244 will get you to this website right here. And if for some reason tiny.cc is blocked for you, you can always just go to ti.apps.spark.org. That's our tech integration page. And from there, you can find this webinar as well as all the others we've done under the recorded trainings tab there. As I said, all of the resources for today's webinar will be found here at this website. Below the live video, which will become the recorded video afterwards, you'll see the slideshow for this session, as well as all of the different links broken out below there. A little bit further down, there's a live session chat doc. So if you're in this webinar live with us today, please open up that Google Doc. That's a way we can all communicate during the webinar. If you've got questions or comments or suggestions, please type them in there. I'll do my best to keep an eye on that doc, although I'm flying solo here today, so I don't have an assistant with me. So if you see a question go in there that you have the answer to, feel free to put in the answer yourself and help each other out in that live chat doc. Below there, there's also a session evaluation for afterwards. Love to get your feedback. Always helps us improve these webinars. And finally, you can get a certificate of attendance for this webinar. That's right. When it's all done, you can take the quick quiz there that is linked in below. And once you take the quiz, it'll generate a PDF certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour that you can turn into your school for PD. How about that? Good stuff. All right. Somebody said they missed the Twitter handle. I'll pull that back up. That's just at Eric Curts, ERICCURTS. Happy to connect with you guys on Twitter. You can also get to all of those resources on my controlaltachieve.com site. All that stuff's linked in there as well. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be talking about here today, well, the title for this session is Hipster Google, tools you probably have never heard of. And the idea is this: Google is very well known for certain tools and services, search and Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Google Chrome, Docs, things like that. And those are wonderful tools that have transformed what we're doing in schools with teaching and learning. However, in addition to those tools, Google has created a wide range of services and apps and extensions and features and all kinds of stuff that are not as well known. And even though these tools may not be as popular, they actually are still very useful for teachers and students and schools to be using. So these are the Hipster Google tools. The idea being, of course, in our culture today, one of the defining characteristics of being a hipster is to enjoy things that maybe aren't as mainstream, to use something before it becomes popular. And so that's kind of the idea that we're taking from that. So with that in mind, what I've done is I pulled together 21 different Google tools that I felt probably aren't as well known. Now, anytime you put together a list like this, I guarantee you're going to know some of these. I mean, that certainly is the case. But in general, I think these are tools that probably are just not as well known. And so hopefully, even if you know a few of these, you will, I hope, pick up some new tools today while we're going through this. And maybe there's some that you've heard about but just never really dug into. And this will give you a chance to say, I really should take a second look at that tool or service. Excellent. All right, so what I've done is I have divided these into 5 categories. We're going to be looking at search tools, map tools, creative tools, communication tools, and miscellaneous tools. And again, I'm sure I have not covered every possible tool out there. So again, if you're in the live document, please feel free to add your own in there, something that I've overlooked that you think is another lesser known Google tool that we should be paying attention to. Now, for what it's worth, just as a quick explanation, I am today only going with Google tools, meaning something that Google actually created. There are so many wonderful apps and extensions and add-ons that are out there, but many of them are not actually from Google. And so, I mean, that could be its own whole separate webinar about other tools that are out there. For these today, I am sticking with ones that Google themselves have actually created and released to us. Whew. All right, so that's our intro. We got to get moving because I said I got 21 of these, and so that's about 2.5 minutes per tool. So we're going to see how that goes. As far as what you need for this session, really nothing special, just a Google account. It can be a school account or a personal account. This is an introductory session. No special prerequisite knowledge is needed for this. Now, I am going to be jumping between 21 different tools, going to try to squeeze all of those in the 1-hour webinar. Hey, if it runs over a little bit, no problem at all. I'll just keep going a little bit longer if we need to. But since I am juggling between 21 different tools, I apologize ahead of time if I get confused or click the wrong button at some point in here. We'll do our best to manage to get through all of these. So let's get at it. All right. So first thing first, search tools. And again, everything I'm looking at here today, you can get to on the website right below the live video, either clicking on the links that I've got or going into the slideshow and clicking on the links there. All of those will work fine, whichever way you prefer to go. All right, very good. So let's go ahead and we will get started. So first category is search tools. And the first search tool we're going to take a look at is one called nGram Viewer. Now, this is a search tool that specifically searches books. It searches words from over 5 million books from the last 500 years. And this can be found at books.google.com/ngram. I'm going to go ahead and pop on over to there real quick so you can see that site. I would encourage you to visit there as well. So the idea behind nGram is basically what you'll do is you will insert some search terms. The default that came up was Albert Einstein, Sherlock Holmes, and Frankenstein. And basically what it's doing is it's searching from, in this case, from 1800 to 2000, but this actually goes back way further than that. And what it does is it looks for every occurrence of those words in published books. So you can see over time how the usage of those words have changed. Now, this can be a really interesting thing for students to do if you're studying history or you're looking at how things have changed over time. So for example, let me just throw in a quick example here. Let's say I put in the word Russia and the word, the abbreviation USSR. So if I run a search for Russia and USSR, and tell you what, I'll just go to 1900. I don't think we need to go further back than that. What we're going to see is that Russia was obviously the very popular term being used in books until it looks like right around the late 1980s as USSR started rising. And then, of course, we know with the fall of the USSR, that term declines and then Russia starts rising again. Other examples that we could throw in, for example, could be World War I. Now, for this one, I'll do it case insensitive. And what you'll see is that at the beginning, what we now call World War I was called the Great War. And then after that, it got overtaken by the World War. And then right around late 1930s, it started declining and a new term came in, which was World War I, because of course we had World War II at that time. So this can be a really neat way, again, to search 5 million books over 500 years to see how things have changed, even if it's just for a language course, seeing word usage. Doesn't have to be just a history course as well. So that's nGram, one of the neat Google search tools that's available out there. All right, let's keep on going. Next one up is called Google Scholar. Now, Google Scholar is a search tool from Google that is specifically for finding peer-reviewed scholarly articles. So if you've got a student who is perhaps doing a, whoops, sorry about that, a student who is doing a research paper, or if you are doing your master's work and you need to do a paper with citations, Google Scholar can be your friend. So let me go ahead and give a click on Google Scholar to open that up. And for this one, I'll just do a quick search here. I'll say that maybe I'm writing a paper on artificial intelligence, run a search on that. And what you'll see is now I get back all of these scholarly articles. I'll zoom in just a little bit on that so you can see that a little bit better there. And so I can go in and check out these different scholarly articles. And if I find one that really is useful, there's some other great links here below. So for example, in addition to finding that scholarly article, I can click on related articles. So if this is one that really has the kind of information I'm looking for, if I hit related articles, now I'm finding other articles that are very similar to that. In addition, there is a save link where I can save it to my own list of articles if I'm collecting these together. And what's really nice here is there's a cite button. If you hit this cite button, what it'll do is ask you what format you want, whether it's MLA, APA, Chicago, and you can get the proper citation for it right there. Awesome. Very good. Now, this again could be useful, like we said, for students who are doing research papers, but a lot of times as educators, we also need to do this for master's work or things like that. And this can save you a whole lot of time finding those articles that you're looking for. Next up in the search area, instant search cards. All right, so with instant search cards, the idea behind this is when we run a Google search, most of the time we're looking to get web results back, but actually Google has in many ways given us some really neat interactive tools that come up when we run a search. Now I've done a blog post a while back that goes into about 20 of these, and that is also linked in if you want to go straight to that blog post where I talk about 20 different instant searches that you can do. But just to demonstrate a couple of these for you really quick. So let's say I wanted to search for the word timer. Well, normally if you're searching for the word timer, you're thinking you're going to find web pages about timers, but Google pops up in a live interactive timer. You can actually set the minutes and seconds and hit start, and it'll start counting down for you right there in your class. So timer is an example. Another one that can be good is if you're looking for a calculator, you can search for calculator and get a live calculator that you can actually use right there in your browser. And there we go. Very good. And again, there's a whole bunch of these in the blog post there that I talk about. You can put in flip a coin or roll a die. You can look for definitions of words. It'll also give you word origin. There's a lot. We won't go through all of these, but you can do unit conversions, how many ounces in a pound, and it will come up with a interactive conversion tool. There's currency converters. You can do areas of different shapes as well as volumes. You can even type in an equation in slope-intercept form and it'll create an interactive graph for you. Animal sounds, calories, images, translations, on and on and on and on. All of those are part of Google's instant search cards. And so I would encourage you to take a look at that blog post if you want to see a couple other examples besides just the couple that we've looked at there. Next up in the search category is reverse image search. Now, hopefully most of us are familiar with Google Images. Love Google Images. It's a great place to go to search for something. So I say, oh, I want to find a picture of a chinchilla. I always use chinchillas as examples because I used to raise them many years ago. But I could run a search for a chinchilla, and then of course there's all kinds of great tools in here to go in and narrow this down by the size of the picture or the color or the usage rights. And hopefully most of us are pretty familiar with Google Image Search. Well, the thing that is a little bit different about it that you might not have known before is reverse image search. So instead of putting in a term of what you want to find pictures of, what if you already have the picture? What if you have a photo and you're curious, where was it taken? What is this a picture of? Well, what you can do is you can drag and drop a picture right on top of the Google image search, or you can hit the little button here. You'll notice there's an image search button. If I click on that, it'll let me even upload an image from here as well. Now I'm going to go ahead And I've got a picture. Let me pull it over here so we can actually see this. Here we go. I've got a picture that I'm going to use as an example. We'll just open this up so you guys can see it. So this picture actually was, it showed up on my background on my computer one day. I'm like, that is really a cool picture, obviously back in January. I said, that's a really neat place. I like that. So I actually took a screenshot of it because I'm like, what is that? I really like that location. Well, I didn't know actually where that was from. So what I can do is I can simply take that image and drag and drop it onto the Google image search, and it will do a reverse image search. It's going to compare that picture to all the other images it has on the internet. And guess what? It's from Italy. It's from a mountain pass in Italy. And so there's a bunch of other pictures of it, and there's a link to the to the Wikipedia webpage where I can learn all about this really gorgeous mountain pass in Italy. So this could be useful for students to look up a picture as far as finding out, where it was taken, or if it's a historical image, finding out more about it. Maybe it's a picture of an object. They don't know what the object is. Great way to identify that. Or if we're talking about teaching our kids to really check their sources, sometimes images obviously can be forged or faked, and this would be a good way to find out more about the authenticity of an image. So that is reverse image search. All right, next up in the search category is Google Trends. Now, Google Trends can be found at trends.google.com. If you give a click on that, that'll take you out to the Google Trends site. And basically what it does is it lets you get your finger on the pulse of what people are currently searching for. So a lot of times we think of Google search as a way to find things. Well, actually, it's kind of interesting just to see what are the searches to begin with. What is it that people are interested in right now? So from Google Trends, you can narrow this down by category: business, health, entertainment, science, and tech, or by country. Great way to find out what are other countries currently searching for, what is on people's minds. Now, that in itself is pretty cool. You can type in some topics of your own to explore and see how those searches have changed over time. Another fun thing with Google Trends, though, and I went ahead and put the link directly in here for you guys. So it's right below the other Trends link, or it's on the page. It's right next to it. It says 5x5 US grid. One of the really neat things at Google Trends is the visualizer. And what that does is it basically shows you live all of the searches that are being done right now in your particular country. Now, I chose US. You can come down here and pick a different country if you want. But again, this is a great way just to throw this up on the screen and say, what are the current events? What are people interested in right now? So this could be great as a writing prompt for students if they're looking for something to write a journal entry about, or for social studies if we're talking about current events. And you can click on any one of these, and guess what? You click on it and it's going to open up a Google search for that. So if I was wondering, why is a particular topic coming up, I just go ahead and give a click on it and it runs a search for that. And then I can even go to news and find out what are the news articles about that particular person or event. Excellent. All right, I think this is our last search one. So the final search topic we're going to look at is called Google Alerts. Now, when you run a Google search, that's great. You get back good information and good results. But you get it back one time. You get it back when you run the search. What if you want to continually get updates on a particular search term or search topic? So again, it could be that you're writing a research paper and you want to know, if anything pops up that's new on this topic, please let me know. Or this can also be a really good one for school administrators. You want to make sure you know what's being said in the news about your school district. And so you can set a Google alert with your school district's name in there, and anytime somebody posts a blog post or there's a news article that relates to your school district or your particular school building, you could get notified of it. Great way to stay in front of any possible problems, but also to see what people are saying about your school. So basically you head on out to google.com/alerts. And once you get there, you just go ahead and create an alert. I'll just use a quick example. My kids go to North Canton City Schools. So I'll go with North Canton City Schools. And as I type in that alert, you'll even see below it gives me a preview so I can see what sort of results I might be getting from that. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that a little bit better there. And so I can tell, oh, that's the kind of articles I'll be getting. There's an options section if I want to go into to say how often do you want to get alerted and where do you want to pull these articles from. And once you're all done, you just hit create alert. And from then on, anytime there's a blog post or a news article with North Canton City Schools in there, I would get notified of that. Now, of course, I can always come back here at any point, edit that or delete it if I decide I don't need to use that anymore. And you will notice I did put the quotes around North Canton City Schools because it's like a normal Google search. That means I want those words in exactly that order, which helps to make sure I'm getting appropriate matches. All right, very good. Well, that gets us to the end of our search category. Let's go ahead and we will move on to our next category, which is map tools. Now, there's a bunch more I could have put in this. I only chose 2. Again, this could be its whole other webinar just on all the Google map tools because you've got things like Street View and My Maps and Google Earth and so many other awesome map tools out there. But I just went ahead and grabbed 2 of them that I thought would be good examples for today. One of them is a game called Smarty Pins. So if you've never played this before, basically you go to smartypins.withgoogle.com. Go ahead and click on that link to take us out there. And it's a trivia game where basically you choose a category if you want. I mean, you can just do random as well, but if you pick a category, so you can be saying, hey, we're going to be doing this for science and geography or arts and culture or history and current events. So you can pick a category. And then when you start the game, what it does is it gives you clues. And so these clues are going to pop up over here. In this case, it says, one of the homes of the royal family. This estate is one of the most famous in England. Now, the idea is if you're fast, yeah, you can drag your little pointer and drop it where it should be. But this could be a great chance to don't worry about the time. There's a little bonus, but it's no biggie if that runs out. This could be a good chance for students to do some searching. So you could be talking about research skills, looking information up online. If I decide that I'm going to put this in London, let's go ahead and grab this and drop it over in London. And once I'm happy with my location, I hit submit answer, and ooh, I was close. I was only 2 miles away. Well, basically, you've got 1,000 miles to work with, and however far you're off from the answer, you lose those miles. And once you run out of miles, then the game ends. But again, this could be great for individual students or throw it up on the screen for the entire class to do together as a group activity. Love it. All right. Next one is Tour Builder. Now, Google Tour Builder is at tourbuilder.withgoogle.com. Go ahead and pop that open here for you. And what it does is it allows you to basically build a story out of maps. So I'll go ahead and say I want to create a tour. And there we go. We'll just call it test and put my name in there. We won't really make much here. We'll just do it really quick just so you can see the general idea. What it does is it opens up this edit screen where you can put in the information about your tour. And then down the left-hand side, there's an add location button. And you can click that as many times as you want to start adding new locations as you build your tour. So I could come in here and we'll just go with, I'm working Canton, Ohio, so we'll just pull up Canton, Ohio real quick here, run a search for Canton, Ohio, and we'll just drop our place marker there in Canton, Ohio. There we go. And we'll put it, that's good. And we'll add that to the tour. Now, obviously, I'd want to zoom in on exactly the location that I'm looking at, whether it is a building, whether it's a historical monument, whether I'm showing off some natural feature for science class. It's a river, it's a mountain, things like that. The point is I can add a location, and now for that location, I can give it a name, and I can add photos and videos. I can add up to 25 pictures and videos. So I can go and pull these from my Drive or from my Google Photos. I can take snapshots. I can put all of those images in. I can also put a start and stop date for this if this is something that has time associated with it. And then I can type up a real big description here. And this description can be as long as I want. I can put in bullets and links and so forth. And when I'm all done with that location, I add another location and I add another location, and I'm stringing together a tour of whether it is maybe autobiographical, where I've lived, or maybe it's the Lewis and Clark expedition, the path they went on, or maybe it's a battle in history and you're visiting each of the sites, or maybe we're taking a look at different geographic features for science class. As an example, I'll close out of this one and I'll go ahead and actually open up one that is here. We'll just go to view a tour so you can see real quick the idea. And so here's one. It's just a random one they opened up here for us, but you can see that basically as we hit next, it moves us down the left-hand side through each of the different locations. And for each location, you can see pictures, you can read about it, hit next, and it will keep on moving you from one location to the other. And what's really neat about it is, depending upon the author of it, they can even set it so it zooms in really, really close on the location. So this is a great way for kids to tell a story in a different way, using maps, using pictures, using photographs, videos, using their own descriptions. So that's Tour Builder from Google. All right, very good. Moving on now to creative tools. And some of these do cross some boundaries. I kind of tried to throw them together into groups. They may not be exactly perfect, but this is the group I'm calling creative tools. The next one's called Story Builder. So kind of like Tour Builder, but Story Builder. In this case, what you're doing is you're telling a story with text rather than with maps. Now, this is kind of an odd tool. This one is at docstorybuilder.appspot.com, and it was originally developed by Google to sort of show off the features of collaboration in Google Docs. And so they designed this more kind of as an advertisement to show people, oh, here's how you can work together in Google. And so what you see is it creates a video where people can have multiple characters typing in the story, and so one person will type, then the other character will type, and it actually makes a video out of that. So let me go ahead and I'm going to say get started, and I will make one really quick here. For my example, let's say that this is going to be a discussion between Christopher Columbus, he'll be my first character, and a historian, because obviously he may have had a different opinion on things than a modern historian would have. So we'll go ahead and put those in as our two characters there, and we will go ahead and write our story. So what I'll do is I'll have Christopher Columbus come along, and he'll say, he'll start off. I pre-typed these. I'm just copying and pasting them in here to save a little bit of time on this, so it's a little bit quicker. So he'll say, I sailed across the ocean and landed in East Asia. And then we'll come down here to the historian, and the historian will make a change. And so basically when I click on my next character, my historian, I can either type something new in, or I could go in and I could edit what was in there. I'll take out East Asia, and I will paste in the Bahamas. And then Columbus will let him speak again. And so he'll come in here, and Columbus will say, well, he'll add a new line. And he'll say, we met the people of India there, so they are called Indians. And then we'll let the historian reply again here, and he'll come in and he'll take out India, and he'll put in the tribes of the Americas, and he'll put in Native Americans for the next part of it. And so as you can see here, what we could start doing is we could be telling a story. So this could be something where you have two characters that are having a conversation. It could be two characters debating. It could be retelling a story that you've read in class, maybe modernizing it. Could be something autobiographical. A lot of possibilities there for how you could use this. When you're all done, we could go on a whole lot further with this, obviously. When we're all done, we go ahead and give a title to our document, and if we want to add music, we can. I'll just hit preview story, and you'll see it'll go ahead, and there's our Christopher Columbus document. And so Columbus types in, and then the historian comes along, takes out some information, adds the rest in, and then of course the story keeps on going after that. So all text, but a fun way of telling a story, or having, you know, a debate, or explaining how to solve a problem in math, or whatever the case might be. All right, so that is Story Builder, and we will leave that. All right, next up in the creativity area is we've got Google Fonts. Now, Google Fonts is a collection of over 800 free web fonts that Google has put together. It is found at fonts.google.com. So if you want to be creative and you want things to look really snazzy, this is a great way to do it. So at fonts.google.com, you can have access to, at the moment, 818 fonts. It's always growing. There's always more of them over time. But you can come here and you can either look at the fonts just as they are, or you can say, I'm just looking specifically for maybe handwriting fonts. So you can uncheck everything but handwriting, or maybe you're looking for display fonts, or you want fonts that have a certain thickness or a slant or a certain width. And so you can set all of those categories to find exactly the font you're looking for. Now, when you find the font you like, it may just be that you're using this as a way to find a neat font and then go back into Google Docs and use that font. At the same time, you actually are allowed to download these. So if it turns out that you really like one of these fonts here, you can add these fonts. You can select them and it'll add them to a group of selected fonts that you've got. And then from there, you can go in and download them right to your computer. And so if you want to have these as fonts to use in Microsoft Word or in other programs, that is perfectly fine. You can do that. Having said that, I come here a lot of times just to test out some different fonts, because you can even type in your own text. You can come here and instead of what's typed in there, you can add your own text. And so I'll use these to sort of just check things out myself. And then what I'll do, let me pull over a document here, is I'll go then, of course, to my regular Google document. Let me zoom in just a little bit here on this. And from my Google document, I'll select some text. And I'll go up to the font menu, and all of those 800 fonts, they're also available through your font menu if you go down to the More Fonts section down at the bottom. Click on More Fonts, and you'll see all of those here as well. I just think it's a little bit easier sometimes to visit the web fonts site first, so you can actually see them typed out with some sample text. But the point is, you can come here and do the same thing. Come in and say, I'm looking for those handwriting fonts, or I'm looking for those display fonts, whatever it might be that you're looking for. Whichever font you find that you like, all you have to do is click on it to select it. And after you select that font, it gets added to your font library. You can hit OK, and now I'll bump that up a little bit so it's a little bigger to see. Now I've got that font that I found out on the Google Web Fonts site. And it can make your slideshows, your Google Drawings, your Google Docs, a whole lot more spiffy by using some of these neat, creative Google fonts. All right, let's keep on going. Up next, we have QuickDraw. Now, QuickDraw it's kind of a fun little game. You may not think it fits in quite as much as with some of these other tools, because it is just kind of a quick, like, Pictionary type game. But what it could be is a really neat way to have a discussion with kids about whether it's art, as to what makes a thing, or whether it's computer science, talking about artificial intelligence, or maybe for a language class, talking about how we communicate. Here's the idea. QuickDraw.withgoogle.com, what it does is basically the computer is going to ask you to draw pictures, and it's going to try to guess what you're drawing. And it's completely artificial intelligence, okay? It's just Google's servers looking at what you're drawing and trying to see if it can figure out what it is. So again, it's going to be neat to talk about artificial intelligence, or about communication, or about art. So if I click Let's Draw, it's going to tell me to draw a lighter. Oh, great. A lighter in 20 seconds. So basically, I got to draw my lighter here. And there's my flame. Oh, I got it. Good job. And now I need to draw a sink. I'm going to go ahead and stop it because it'll go for a while there. But there's 6 rounds in each game, and you have 20 seconds to do your best to try to draw. And while you're drawing, it's guessing it. Now, you couldn't hear it because I've got my headphones on, but it's actually guessing those while you are drawing them in. So that's QuickDraw from Google. All right, next up is Toontastic. Now, at this point, this and the next 2, I think the next 3 that I'm going to show you, have a mobile component. So a lot of these, it will be something that you will benefit by using an Android or an iOS device. And I've kind of grouped these together because I'm going to plug in my phone as well, so that I can pull these up on the screen. And that way we'll be able to see these together. So Toontastic is either an Android or iOS app. You can use it either way. And if you have a Chromebook, one of the more modern Chromebooks that runs Android apps, you could use it on a modern Chromebook as well. So Toontastic is a tool that lets kids tell stories. In this case, they're creating 3D animated narrated stories. So I'll go out to the website, toontastic.withgoogle.com. And if you want to check that site out, it'll give you a lot of information about the tool. They've even got some embedded in here, so you can kind of watch some of these pre-made ones that other students have made already. But what I'm going to try to do, and we'll cross our fingers and hope it works, is I'm going to go ahead and plug in my phone. I've done this before in some other webinars, and I've had decent success. This is where I always say we're being creative here today. Let's see if that comes up okay when I plug that in. Here it comes. Now, I do use a free tool called Visor, and it does have ads. So every now and then an ad may pop up, and that is from Visor. Not sure what the ads will be, so just fair warning that may happen. All right, so let me pull up Toontastic on my phone here, and we'll take a look. Oh, here, see, here comes an ad. There we go. I'm going to close out the ad. There we go. All right, so let me pull up Toontastic here. There it is, and bring that up for a second. Now, here's the Toontastic app, and basically what you do is you come in and say that you want to create a new story. So we'll give that a second to bring up our screen for creation. I've got some previous ones I played around with, you can see over here. But you say you want to create a new story. And what it lets you do is pick the kind of a story, whether it's a 3-part story, a 5-part story, or like a classic story, or a science report, which is also 5 parts. And in this case, I'm just going to do a short story, a 3-part story. I won't do the whole story. I'll just kind of start it off so you can see the general idea. And so I'm at the beginning of the story. So we're starting off with the beginning of our story. And it's going to ask me to pick like a background, like a location, and there's a whole bunch of pre-made locations, and then it's also going to ask me to pick some characters to drop in there. So we could do a spooky camp, or here's let me see, what else do we have here, a spy setting or a pirate ship. I'll just go with the space one real quick here. And after you choose your setting of where you're going to have the story, it then asks you to choose your characters. Now, some characters obviously kind of make a little bit more sense. They've got some space-themed characters here, but you don't have to. You could pull any of the characters. They don't have to be from that theme, and you can even draw your own. You see there's a little option here. You can use your finger and just actually draw your own characters, and it'll make them 3D and add them right into the story there. But if that was it, if I chose those characters, basically now I would put them into my story, put them in the spots where I want them to be. And then when I actually start, if I were to hit start, it lets me narrate. And so basically I take my finger, I drag the characters around, I move them around on the screen, I move the screen around, and I talk. And hopefully, you know, it's a bunch of kids doing it together. They can each choose a different character that they're going to narrate, and they are live talking and, you know, narrating as if they're those characters. And when it's all said and done, then it creates a video that gets saved to your Google Photos, and you can share it with other people and play it back. And it is a 3D animated narrated story, and that's Toontastic, and that is free. So we'll go ahead and exit out of that though for now. All right, let's keep on going. All right, after Toontastic, the next one I want to talk about, again, I'm keeping the mobile apps kind of together while I've got my phone plugged in, is Cardboard Camera. This is for Android and iOS as well. And a lot of people are familiar with Google Expeditions. Love, love, love Google Expeditions. Basically, what you've got are 360-degree recorded environments that you can then play back on a phone that you put inside of Google Cardboard, which is like a ViewMaster from when we were kids. And as you look through it, it shows you that 360-degree recorded environment. You can look around, look up, look down, look side to side, and you can have audio recorded with it as well. Now, hopefully someday Google will release an official Expeditions recording tool. Right now, you can play Expeditions. There's not really a way to create your own, although this is kind of a way around that. So Cardboard Camera is a free app from Google that lets you, if you want, record, narrate, and share your own 360-degree VR images. So it's kind of like making your own expeditions. So with this tool, what you could do is, if you go on a field trip, you could fire it up and turn around in a circle and film an environment while describing what you're seeing, while talking about that particular location. So whether it's, again, science class, social studies class, language arts, whatever it might be, anything you're recording, you could talk about. Now I'm going to go ahead and let me pull my phone back up here again. There it is. And let me go ahead and open up Cardboard Camera. I think I've already got it open in the background. Give that a second to pop up. There it is. Now, if I were to record, what I would do is go down to the little record button here at the bottom. I won't do a full recording, but if I were to record, basically now it's going to, oh, hey, there's my office. There we go. And what I would do is I would hit this record button here and I would slowly start moving around, and I would go, you know, all the way around at 360 degrees while I'm talking. I'm not really recording it at the moment, but I would go in one full turn and I would talk the whole time, and it would record my voice while I'm doing that. I won't really do that. Instead, I'll go and show you what the end result looks like. So here are some that have been created just as samples. If I choose one of these, you'll see it brings it up, and then it gives you the little cardboard icon here. So if you click that, it would ask you to drop the phone into Google Cardboard. And I mean, I'm not really putting it in Cardboard at the moment, but basically there's the two different, you know, views that you get through the different, you know, right and left. So you can look to the side, you can look up, you can look to the other side, and the entire time it would be playing back the audio that was recorded as well. So with Cardboard Camera, you can make your own sort of homemade Google expeditions. When it's all done, you can share it as a link. So whatever expedition you create, if I go back to one of the ones I have created here, I can go in and there is a share button right there at the bottom, and I can share that expedition with other people. Well, I'm calling it an expedition, but I could share it as a link, or I could email it and give it to people. And once they click that link, they could open it right up into the Cardboard Camera as well, and they would be able to play it back. All right. And that gets us to the next category, which is communication tools. And in this category, I still have one more mobile app. Again, I kept these all together so I can just do all the phone stuff all at once. I'll go ahead and unplug the phone here once I finish up this last mobile app. So for this one, we're talking about communication tools. And the one we're going to take a look at is Google Translate, the mobile app. Now, a lot of us are familiar with Google Translate as a tool in general. There's a website. There's a Google Translate website. Great place to go to paste in some text and get it translated, or put in a web link and it'll, you know, translate that for you. But you get a couple of other neat features when you're using the mobile app. So again, Google Translate shows up in all kinds of things. It's in Google Docs, it's in Google Search. But if you're using the mobile app, pick up a few more features. For example, there is a microphone. You can just talk to it and it will then translate it for you and speak in that other language. You can use the doodle tool to handwrite something in your language and it'll translate it. But then the really cool thing is you can use the camera to hover over something that's in a different language and it will live translate it for you. So let me demonstrate that for you now. So let me go ahead and I'll pull up the Translate app. There we go. So far, tech has been our friend today. I'm surprised. We've been doing pretty well. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Let's go ahead and I'm doing English to Spanish at the moment. So I'll just pull up the microphone. Hello, my name is Eric.
Hola, mi nombre es Rick.
Well, it thinks I'm Rick, but that's okay. We can go with that. So I can just speak to it. That's fine. Or I can use the doodle tool over here and I can write. I'll just write hello. And there it has translated that for me.
Hola.
But where it really gets neat is when we use the camera option. So here's what we're going to do. This will be our creative use here. I'm going to go to Google Images and I'm going to search for Spanish signs. And let's go with this one's fine. We'll just go with this sign here. So let's say I came across that sign. What I can do is I can point my camera at that with the Google Translate mobile app, and it will try to translate it like live and make it look in English. So I'm going to pull this back up. I need to switch from English to Spanish to English. I'm changing my direction here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the camera option here. And let's see how it does. Okay, so here we go. I am now taking my, let's see how well this works. I got to move this out of the way because it's blocking it. There we go. I'm going to take my camera or my phone, and I'm actually, notice what I'm doing. I am looking at this picture, but over here you can see on the phone, it's changing it to notice, water undrinkable, not suitable for drink or cooking. It is live translating that from what I'm looking at to what I see in the phone. Phenomenal. Really, really neat tool. All right, very good. Hey, the tech held up through those. I'm happy. Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and we'll keep on moving. Next up in this category is canned responses. Now, canned responses is a communication tool that can make your email life a little bit easier. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up a compose window for Gmail, and we'll drag this over onto the screen here. Sorry, I didn't have that preloaded. Let me pull it up here real quick for you guys, and we'll drag this on over and give that a second to load up. Okay, so here we go. So let's say I was writing an email. Now, it could be that I'm replying to something. That's usually what I end up doing with this tool. Basically, what canned responses lets you do is it allows you to save commonly used blurbs of text so that when you're writing back to somebody, you don't always have to type the same thing over and over and over and over again. Now, the way you get to that, and actually let me pull that up for you too so you can see how you get to that. What you do is from Gmail, you go into your settings for Gmail. I'll pull that window over as well so you guys can see. You go into your settings just from the gear up on the top of Gmail, go into your settings, and you'll see in settings, there's a labs tab up here. I'll zoom in just a bit for you to see that. And from the labs tab, you can scroll down and there's all of these really neat labs, which are kind of like experimental tools that Google has created for Gmail. You might not have known they even existed. It's kind of the idea. So from the settings tab, if you go to labs and scroll down, there's a whole bunch of neat features you can turn on for Gmail. And one of them, the one I've got turned on right now, is called canned responses. And basically you click enable to turn it on and you hit save changes. And now once you've done that, it's available for you. So how does it work? Well, basically, if you've turned on the canned responses lab, anytime you are in Gmail writing back to somebody or composing a new message, if you go down way down in the bottom right-hand corner and click on the little down arrow, you get a canned responses menu that wasn't there before. And what it allows you to do is either type up a response once, come here, and save it as a new response, which I did a couple times. I've made some different responses that I've saved in here. Or after you've got them saved, basically you can come up here, click in your email, go down to canned responses and choose insert and insert any of the ones you've already done in the past. So for example, a lot of times people come to visit me here at the office, maybe a vendor visit or something like that, and it's a big office and people may not know how to find where I'm at. So instead of typing that up every single time, I simply come into the doc or to the email, we'll pretend I'm writing back to somebody and, blah, blah, blah. I'll be writing to them. I'll come down here to canned responses. I'll go up to insert and I'll choose parking because that's what I called this blurb. Click on parking and it spits that right in there for me. You may park in the front of the building at blah, 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 enter through such and such a door. Once you're in, go up the stairs to the second floor, blah, 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 blah. And so that whole response is just saved in my canned responses. And anytime I need any of these for various different things, I can just pull them up from here and insert them in. So this could be a really great way to save you some time if you're communicating with parents or with students. And there's certain things that you use a lot when you're doing email. Canned responses will allow you to have quick access to those. All right, keep on going. Next up, we're going to take a look at Share to Classroom. Now, this is another communication tool in the sense that we're pushing information out to our students. So the idea here is this is a Chrome extension that you install, and I've got it installed. It's all the way up here in the top corner. And so let's say that I wanted to take a website and share it with my students. Well, what I could do, I'll go to my blog, Control-Alt-Achieve, and let's say I wanted to send this website out to my students. Well, if I've got this extension installed, which the link for the extension is right there in the slideshow, it's also in the long list of resources below the video there. If you've got the extension installed and you give a click on it, what it does is it pops up and it's going to ask you what class you want to push this website out to. So I'll just grab one of my sample classes. And then after you choose the class you want to send it out to, it wants to know, how do you want to send it out? And you've got 4 options. You could make an announcement from it. You could ask a question. You could create an assignment. All of those are normal classroom tools. So just like making an assignment, it'll take this website and attach it to the assignment or to the question or to the announcement. So instead of going to Classroom and setting this up, right from the extension, boom, you could create an assignment, an announcement, or a question and send that out to your kids. The other really cool thing about it, though, is one called Push to Students. If you have your students also installed this extension, anytime I choose Push to Students, it'll take that web page and will actually open up a new tab on the student's computer live with that web page. So if I said, okay, guys, we all need to go visit this site at this moment, boom, I could push it right out. It'll pop open on their devices so they can get there. At the same time, students can do the same thing. They can push things back to you. Now, they won't pop up on your screen and take over your screen or anything like that, but instead, notice at the bottom it says received from students. If I click there, if a student has suggested a web page, those can show up in the received from students section. So I can go, oh, hey, thanks for sharing that. Maybe they've got a cool web page they want everybody to be able to see. I could say, oh, great, let's take a look at that, give it a click, and then, go out to that web page and pull that up for the class to see. So that is an extension called Share to Classroom. Now, similar to that is the next one called Google Cast. Now, Google Cast takes the same sort of idea and goes another step further. This is a web app that allows students to share their screen live with you. So they're not sending you just a link like we looked at in Share to Classroom. Instead, what they're doing is they're literally sharing their screen, their live screen, onto your screen. Here's the idea behind it. Let's say you've got your teacher computer hooked up to a projector in front of the room, and a student has something they want to share. They've got a website pulled up, they've got a slideshow, they've got a Google document, they've got something that would benefit the class. Instead of having them have to come up and unplug your computer and plug theirs in or share the document with you, they can just share their screen as long as you have the Google Cast app running. Again, you've got to install that. There's a link for it there. I do have that already installed on this. I will go ahead and fire it up real quick. Here it is, Google Cast for Education. And the way it works is, as long as you do 2 things. As the teacher, you need to have Google Cast running. If it's not running, it's not going to work. You can minimize it. You can fire it up and drop it down. But if you want kids to be able to send things to your screen, you do have to have it running. And then you also have to go in and click the share button and decide who's allowed to send things to your screen. So from the share button, you can go in and you can add individual students, or you can add entire classes, which I already did ahead of time. I added an entire Google class. So any student from that class could request to send something to my screen. Well, let's try it out. I've got another Chromebook sitting over here to the side where I'm logged in as one of my students from that class. And let's say I wanted to push a web page over to there. I would simply do the following. Now, just so you can see, I know you can't see this, but I'm going to tell you what's basically happening. What the student does, they don't have to have anything special installed. As long as they're using Google Chrome, all they do is go up to the very top right-hand corner where the little 3 dots button is at. They click that and they choose Cast. There's a menu option in the drop-down menu called Cast. And what it will do is it will show them any available receivers, basically my computer, for example, that they would be allowed to request sending their screen. So the student goes to the 3 dots, they go down to Cast, they click that, and it gives them a list of who is available to cast to. So on this other screen, I know you can't see it, but I'm going to the 3 dots, I'm choosing Cast, and now it's looking to see, and it sees Eric's laptop. I'm going to choose Eric's laptop, and we should get a pop-up on the screen here, I hope, pretty quick, that says the student is requesting to share their screen. Oh, there it is. Test user has requested. I click Accept, and now the student's screen is going to display on my screen. And it may take it just a moment for it to load there. See if that loads up okay or not. Oh, looks like it's running a little bit slow at the moment. I have been pushing it a little bit with all the stuff I've got running here at the moment. Let me see if I minimize and maximize that back up. It's showing up black for me at the moment, so I may have a few too many things running at the moment there. But the idea is this is how the student would then share their screen. And normally, it was working earlier. Normally, it will show up on the screen here. And then what's happening is because the student's screen is showing up on your screen and your computer is attached to the projector, bingo, now everybody can see in class what the student is showing. And it's live. As they move their mouse, it can all be seen. I apologize. That's coming up black at the moment here right now. But it does work under normal conditions. I'll go ahead and close out of that. Again, I may have a few too many things running with the webinar that could be interfering with it. I tried it before when I wasn't running the Hangout. So it's very possible that the Hangout in conjunction with it could be causing a problem. All right. Oh my goodness, 5 minutes. We got to hurry. Got a few more things to look at here. All right. What's next up? Oh, we made it to miscellaneous. Good. We're down to our final 4. Hey guys, I think we can do it. I may run over just a little bit, but that's okay. I will not charge you anything extra. It'll still be exactly free as it always has been. All right. So miscellaneous tools. Next one up. These are ones that just didn't quite fit into a category. So I kind of threw them all together into their own area. Next one to look at is called SpellUp. SpellUp is a spelling game from Google that basically has the students spelling words by speaking them. Again, you're not going to be able to hear everything as I've got headphones on, so I can hear it from my end. But what it's going to do is basically it's going to come in here and it's going to ask me to play the game. And as I go in to play the game, it's going to start talking to me and telling me words that it wants me to spell. And we'll go ahead and move on here. It should come up here in just a second. All right. And hopefully it's almost there. Testing, testing, testing. Yes, it can hear me. That's good. And now we're ready to start. Now you're not going to be able to hear it talking. G-O. O. But it asked me to spell go. So that's why that just came up there. And basically, it's going to keep doing this. I will go ahead and pause this or else it'll keep going for quite a while here. But basically, what it's going to do is it's going to keep giving me new words to spell, and I'll actually speak them aloud and spell them out. Now, as you move through the different levels, you start gaining power-ups and hints and other cool things like having the word used in a sentence or a definition of the word. And there's lots of different levels kids can move through. So if you're looking for a fun, free spelling game, SpellUp is available. Next up, Google Keep. Now, this one might not stay on the hipster list for too long because it's getting pretty well known. But just real quick, in case you don't know about Google Keep, it is Google's note-taking app that can be used on the web or can be used on your phone. It's also a mobile app as well. And it's a great way to take notes. You can take notes, you can put in lists, but you can also do a lot of other things besides just notes and lists. You can add images, you can doodle, and if you're on your phone, you can actually talk to it, just like those old days with a mini cassette recorder where you're taking your brilliant thoughts and throwing them onto a recording real quick. You can just talk to your phone and it will add the recordings to Google Keep as well. So here we have just a quick little hand drawing that I did. Here's one where I took a picture of a piece of paper, and one of the really neat things about it is if you take a picture of something with text, it can pull all of the text out of the picture as well. So it'll do OCR, and Google Keep will read through the document and pull the text out of it for you. So just take a picture of something real quick and boom, if you click the little dots here, there's an option that says grab image text and it'll pull those right out. Now, one of the really fun things you can do with Google Keep, and I've got a blog post that goes into more details about this, but what you can do is you can use it to create banks of comments. So what I've done is I've made mechanics, organization, style, usage, and grammar, and I've got these banks of comments here. And what Google Keep can do is you can actually open it up in Google Docs. So let's say I'm grading my students' work. What I can do is from the tools in Google Docs, I can go down and choose Keep. And it will open up all of my notes from Google Keep, and I can go in and find my commonly used feedback for my students and say, you know what, I need to leave some feedback here for this student. So I'll highlight some text, hit the comment button. Instead of typing in the comment, I can come over here, go ahead and give a click on my comments and say, I want to insert this comment. I can go ahead and copy that, paste that in, and boom, there we go. I've now got that comment added. So that'd be great for giving feedback for students or writing lesson plans and putting standards in, or if you're an administrator and you're doing classroom observations, you can have all of your comments ready to go just to add into the document. Whew, almost. Let's see. We got 2 more left, I think. Yep, last 2. Okay, last 2. Office Editing Extension. So this is a great extension that allows you to work with Microsoft files if you want to store them in Google Drive and you maybe don't want to convert them to Google format. Now, converting them to Google format is fantastic. That's great, gives you a lot of extra features, but sometimes you might want to leave a Word doc as a Word doc. Maybe somebody shared it with you as a, or sent it as a Word doc, and you need to edit it and then send it back as a Word doc. And maybe you don't even have Microsoft Word on your device, using a Chromebook, for example. Well, this is a great extension that allows you to do some light editing of Microsoft files while they're still in Microsoft format. So if I go to my Google Drive, just head over to Google Drive, I'm going to drop a document in here real quick. Let me pull up this. I've got a sample Google Doc, so I'll just grab, or excuse me, a sample Word doc. I'll grab this sample Word doc and I'll upload it to my drive. So that's uploading. Give that a second to upload. And there it is, sample Word doc. Now, normally, if I were to double click on that sample Word doc, it would just show me a preview. But if you go ahead and install from the Chrome Web Store the Office Editing tool, what will happen is when you double click on a Word doc or a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet, it opens it up in a light editor. And so it's like a simple version of Microsoft Word. And so this is still in Word format. I could come in here and I could actually start typing in the document and editing it while it is still in Microsoft Word format. And any change I make would get saved still in Word format. So if you've got something that for whatever reason you don't want to convert to Google Docs, you need to keep it in Microsoft format, make some light edits to it, having that extension installed will let you do that. Now keep in mind, if you still want to convert it later, you can do that. You just have to go to the File menu, and from the File menu, you can choose Save As Google Docs, and it will then convert it over if you wanted to. And the final hipster tool is Google Arts and Culture. So Google Arts and Culture is a fantastic website from Google's Cultural Institute that has loads and loads. Let me zoom out a little bit here. I may have zoomed in a little too much on that one. Has loads and loads of primary source documents, artwork, artifacts that Google has very carefully taken pictures of or scanned in at very high resolutions. So what you've got here is you've got lots of artists from all throughout history. You've got different mediums. You've got different art movements. You've got different historical events, wars and so forth, and historical figures. And for any one of these, you can now go in and choose an artist. So I'll choose Van Gogh, for example. And they have very carefully scanned in all of Van Gogh's work. So I can click on Starry Night. And instead of just having to stand in a museum and look at it from afar, I can click on it and I can zoom in so close that we can see every individual brushstroke. You can get closer to these things than you ever would be able to in real life. And they've done this for artwork. They've done it for, like we said, historical events. If you go in and choose like World War II, there are so many primary source documents and photographs and artifacts from the war, and everyone, again, has been scanned or photographed at ultra, ultra high resolution. So it's a great way for your kids to get upfront, close experience with artwork and historical items from history. And we made it. All right. Now, I ran over by just a couple of minutes there, so I'm going to take a few minutes now to look at our shared document and see if there were some questions that came in that I did not get a chance to answer. It does look like there's quite a bit in the document, so I'm going to kind of scan through it and see if there's something that's really jumping out that we need to look at. I will tell you this. I do have a blog post that is going to go along with this webinar. It will be found at controlaltachieve.com. probably by tomorrow. And every one of these 21 tools, I've actually written up about a paragraph or two on each one of them that goes into greater detail. So you'll be able to watch the whole webinar, again, of course, if you want, but all of these are also going to be broken out in that blog post. So there'll be some additional resources in there as well if you need. Now, as far as your questions, just scrolling down and seeing if there's anything that I missed. I think you guys have done a very nice job helping each other. I appreciate that. We've got folks who've been adding all sorts of great notes in here. That is fantastic. Let's see. Anything else? Anything not answered? If somebody sees something that's not answered, even if you want to highlight it for me to catch my attention, that would be great. I'm looking in it. Honestly, it looks like almost everything that somebody has typed in, somebody else put an answer in for it. Are there limitations on what one can take pics of for cardboard camera? Can people be in the videos? Yeah, I mean, it's just like a regular regular camera on your phone. So no, there's no limits to what you can record with cardboard camera. Whatever you record, it's just a link. You have to share it with other people. So it's not, people can't like automatically see what you've recorded there. You would have to choose to hit the share button and send that link to other people. So just like you would share a regular photo, obviously use your best judgment as you share those things with others. Is it possible to collaborate when editing a Microsoft Doc and Drive? Unfortunately, no. If you want to do collaboration in Drive, you do need to convert it to a Google Doc. That's one of the things, you can use like the Office editing extension to do light editing, but it's still just you editing the doc. You can't have multiple people in it. But if you convert it to a Google Doc, then you can. The only way you'd be able to do that is if you used a different service like Office 365, because they do have collaboration abilities and they're similar to what Google does in Google Docs. Yeah. Oh, somebody says Google Cast has been known to go black, so it wasn't just me. Okay, and they said that people have requested help on this. So, so it may have been. Now, and again, it did work for me earlier. I was testing this out earlier, and the Google Cast worked great. I was blaming it on the fact that I had a Hangout running at the same time, but who knows? Maybe that is something that there's some additional issues that could be with that. All right, guys. Well, I think we got most all of that. I will look back through that shared Google Doc, and if there's something else in there that I missed, I'll be happy to type in some answers, but I think you guys have done a phenomenal job of filling that in. So as we go ahead and wrap up here, just to remind you guys, all of the resources can be found at tiny.cc/spark244. Also check out controlaltachieve.com. I'll have a blog post up with a little bit more fleshed out detail on each one of these 21 tools. I certainly hope you picked up something new today out of those and can turn around and use those with your students or for yourself. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this, and definitely check back. We try to have about one webinar a month as we head into the summer months, maybe not quite as many, but you can always find these at our website, ti.apps.spark.org, where those can be located. Again, thank you so much for being with us today.